My dear people of Ambazonia, my fellow brave warriors of the Southern Cameroon's freedom quest, our liberation movement. Accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro, this Sunday, the 19th of January 2025. I am definitely on localization, on delocalization to say it, because I'm not in my studio. You can see that for yourselves. What I want to say this day, folks, is that we have a lot of work ahead of us in 2025. I want to use this opportunity to draw the attention of all and sundry to the reality that this year is going to be extremely brutal, very brutal. Brutal because La République du Cameroon is finding out that they are in a very tight position, a very tight corner. Tight corner because back in their country, things are not really appearing to go the way they thought they would. We're only in January. A lot is already going on. The government of La République du Cameroon usually counted on the church to send the people to sleep so that they will continue to do the things they are accustomed to doing. But the decision between the government of La République du Cameroon and the Catholic Church, that started in the very first days of 2025 and the last days of 2024 appear to be deepening. And that wave seems to be spreading in the Christian church. Although the Muslims, through their lamidos, are yet to make a pronouncement, it is expected that the government of Cameroon would try and see if they can instrumentalize them as usual against the Christian church. But the information I'm getting from the background appears to indicate that it will be an uphill task, a real uphill task. And again, the government may even disintegrate before the very eyes of Mr. Paul Biya. Don't forget, his hands are currently seemingly very tight that he is unable to form a new government. Because he has been unable, he has made several attempts to do that, but hasn't succeeded. My people of Ambazonia, the government of La République du Cameroon, represented by its colonial administration in our land, will try as much as they can to deepen the divide among us because they believe that while they are going to be facing serious vicissitudes, likely the Armageddon in 2025, they must keep us busy fighting among ourselves so that when they finish resolving their issues, they could still come back and meet us where they left us so they can pick up from there and continue their genocidal campaign in our land. I'm taking this opportunity to draw the attention of the people of the southern Cameroons to this truth that this time, now more than ever before, we don't need infighting. We don't need disunity. I've always said this, and I reiterate, that in a liberation movement, power is not the most important thing. The most important thing will be our ability to rise to the occasion, work in synergy, and see exactly how we overcome the challenges presented by the enemy. I saw a press release issued by AGOFC in which they announced in pomp and fanfare that they had been invited, that Ambazonia through them had been invited officially to the close circles of the inauguration of the new US President Donald Trump, this January 20. If it was the time that we cared more about unity of purpose, we will be reaching out to them to find out the veracity of this statement. On the contrary, because we have some unhealthy competition among us, the first instinct is to bash. The first instinct is to say it is not true. The first instinct is to downplay it. The first instinct is to say they are out of their minds. But will this kind of information rattle the government of La République du Cameroon? Of course, the answer is yes. Can we make capital of it? The answer again is yes. But because of the bellicose nature of our relationship between the various groups, movements, and organizations, the thing is to say, if we allow this to go, and it sinks in the minds of the people that truly AGOFC got this invitation, it will mean they will have the upper hand over our group, over our movement, over our organization. My prayer for the people of the southern Cameroons, the suffering masses of Ambazonia, is that we quickly recognize that in 2025 we will benefit more by giving each other the benefit of the doubt, working in synergy, asking ourselves questions rather than going out to castigate and to bash. I have received a lot of insults, a lot of attacks for always saying that it makes sense to work together than to tear ourselves apart. I've received a lot of insults. Sometimes I'm even called an ally of the ADF or a supporter of so-called atrocities committed by them. I say so-called. Because every allegation still needs to be investigated. I will never, never, any day, anytime, anyhow, stand to support the maltreatment, the mistreatment of the civilian population in the southern Cameroons. Why? Because as president of the consortium, I have worked tirelessly with foot soldiers to go from community to community to build bridges between the civilian population and our self-defense volunteers to ensure that they have a good working relationship that guarantees that our self-defense forces understand that their primary goal is to protect the civilian population, is to ensure that the suffering masses, the subjugated and humiliated, tortured people of the southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, facing a genocide from La République du Cameroon, sponsored by France, should be the subject of protection. Where we stand today, a lot of our self-defense volunteers have understood that working with the people whose interest they first of all picked up arms to protect is paramount, is primordial. I receive messages every day from either the self-defense volunteers or their proxies, making me to understand that they are gradually coming to the realization that some, a few in their midst, had taken the wrong option and they are doing all within their powers to bring them to order. This is what we need now more than ever before. This is what we need now, just like we need oxygen, to make sure that we address the critical issue of kidnapping for ransom by people who too often are not involved in this in the interest of the Southern Cameroons. They simply have either taken advantage of our liberation movement or they are armed bandits released from the dungeons of La République du Cameroon and sent to our land for the purpose of wreaking this havoc for reasons we are yet to establish. Or again, or again, they are apparatchiks of the so-called elite of the Southern Cameroons who are members, top members of the CPDM crime syndicate determined to wreak havoc on our people and who are doing all this for the sole purpose of turning the people against their own aspirations to freedom and a better life. I want to make you understand that the fight against this evil of kidnapping for ransom, especially in Mezam County, and particularly in the city of Bamenda, will be a collective duty of everyone, both you, the civilian population, the self-defense volunteers, and every other supporter and sympathizer of our cause. A good lot of us know that these particular acts are meant to destroy and destabilize the struggle, destroy its image, destabilize its ability to prosper, and make sure that they attack, especially the families of people who are great supporters of our liberation movement or people themselves that they suspect to be great donors to this liberation movement. This realization is fundamental to the approach that we adopt in 2025. I followed an audio of one of our self-defense volunteers or handlers who made clear that over 60% of our freedom fighters on ground zero have come together and are already working together. All they need is a recognition from the various interest groups, movements, groups, and organizations in the diaspora to understand that they thirst and want to work together. And that by our actions, by our words, and by our communications with them, we should be fostering this trend. That is how we will be able to overcome. Because La République du Cameroun expects a situation whereby the self-defense forces in Bui suddenly turn against the self-defense forces in Boyo, turn against the self-defense forces in Gokutunja. Those in Meme turn against the ones in Fako, turn against the ones in Dian, turn against the ones in Lebialem, so that at the end of the day, they can tell the world, all you see there are warlords. And so while they resolve their political transitional crisis, we will be fighting against each other. But our brave hearts understand this. That is why they are creating a rapprochement that will guarantee that they are working together. That the day La République du Cameroun begins to witness the eruption of its political volcano, they will be able to coordinate action that will kick the remnants of La République du Cameroun colonial presence, of La République du Cameroon's colonial presence in our land, and ensure that we seal our borders, consolidate our freedom, put in place a system that enables us to strengthen our defense. So by the time they come back, they realize they can no longer penetrate. This is 2025 for you and I. This is what this year is going to be all about. If you truly love the Southern Cameroons, work towards assisting all those who are truly talking the need to build synergy and are walking the talk. Not those who are claiming that they want to build bridges, they want to build synergy, they want to create reconciliation, they want to bring everyone together, but are pulling the strings to disintegrate even the most stable groups, movements, and organizations in this liberation movement. This is what we have been witnessing. You must have observed that the consortium house that has been the most stable all these years is today witnessing its own attempt at turbulence. Fortunately enough, the forces for good within are stronger than the forces for evil and division within. That is why those evil attempts have easily been clamped down on and reduced to their barest expression. Many sponsored by people who have created and created and created and have a track record of generally wanting to fragment and weaken our liberation movement. We will overcome even that other challenge. My people of Ambazonia, if there's ever been any time that this liberation movement needs your financial support, it is now. You can't contribute to the platforms I support, no problem. But by all means, make sure you are contributing one way or the other to platforms that you believe in, you trust, to ensure that we get La République du Cameroun out of our land. I'm convinced that any true platform collecting funds today, any true one, will still get the funds to the same place that we all need to get funds going. I sit here today confident of the fact that we will overcome. They will try and try and try again to hurt the image of our liberation movement. They will instrumentalize their apparatchiks, their planted agents within our midst. There are some accusations, some attacks that come from places that I don't even care to respond to because they don't make any sense to respond to. Someone sent me one of the recent videos by Michel Biemtong that was realized after I made very strong declarations. I watched it and I didn't see anything that warranted me to respond. Because everything he said inside there simply confirmed what I said before. The long narration of how he left jail and how people tried to tell him that this guy called the Colonel Bamkwi was sending someone to take care of him, to give him the means. Oh, so there had actually been an overture. Oh, he came out of jail not alone, but among several Ambazonians. Oh, understandable. Oh, how he went to Burkina Faso through Mimimefo and eventually ended up having some means to. Oh, really? But trust me, I also have a lot of people called me and said, because you people have not communicated about what happened in Canada during the pre-talks, sometimes people are forced to believe information that comes haphazardly. There were 4 documents signed in Canada. 4. The government of Canada is retaining the very last one. And right now, we have had the total go-ahead for Professor Carlson Anyangwe to come out there and tell it all. Because I'm out of station, as soon as I return and reconnect with my brothers, Comrade Yerima of the IG Care, Comrade Prizo of the SCNC, and Comrade Nick Julius of AGOFC, of course, we are going to give a date on which Professor Carlson Anyangwe will come out here on my platform to say it all, and then thereafter we will come together not only to answer questions but to bring out the rest of the story that operated at a level where Professor Carlson Anyangwe was not present. You will go to understand that La République du Cameroon pulled out of this because they felt outsmarted. To this date, some in the government of La République du Cameroon still believe that Chief Doctor, Prime Minister, Head of Government, John Gute, was trying to play a fast one on La République du Cameroon. He tried his best. I think, sincerely, he thought he was going to pull a quick one to endear himself to the system and to France. But they met an Ambazonia, strongly united, focused on the unity of purpose. Despite our so much acclaimed division, we rose to the occasion. Oh yes, we did. La République du Cameroon was terrified, frightened, and they saw that by that single outing in Canada, they were about to capitalize or to capitulate. I beg your pardon. They were about to capitulate. They had to hurriedly pull back. You will get a true, clear, and unmitigated story. Michel Biemtong can go about screaming on hilltops, speculating as much as he cares, because those within our liberation movement who are using him to foster their internal hegemonic fight were not present, were not privy to those very sacred documents. The Ambazonian side, we have often been treated as people who don't know how to keep secrets. They had told the Canadian side, these people, they will spew out everything. But we shocked not only the Canadian government, but even the representatives from the United Nations by deciding to receive all the insults, all the attacks, all the bashing, and even all the name calling, and not talking when we do not obtain a clearance to talk. Because we're all bound under the clause of secrecy. Diplomacy is an art best eaten cold, very cold. It's never heated in a microwave. It's best heated cold. And we showed proof of maturity this time. Until now, we have the go-ahead to talk. We were never in a haste. We were never worried. We were never disturbed because we were never guilty of any of the inanities that were labeled or leveled against us. So, that day is very close now. I assure you, you wouldn't be kept waiting again too long. You will get the unmitigated truth of exactly what happened. Christianity, tell it all. That is what it will be. But this year is a turning point year in our liberation movement, and you don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to thank those of you who jumped onto this impromptu broadcast from somewhere in the world. And trust me, whenever the call of duty comes, I pick up my bag and I walk for Ambazonia. I don't think twice. We will get there. Someday, you will know why I'm broadcasting, where I'm broadcasting. And let that continue. To God, unto Him alone, be all the glory. Thank you.